To what would you attribute the marked increase in negative sentiment by the populace toward China?
Well, I think it's the rising tension, the continuing tensions in the West Philippine Sea. I will, of course, clarify a little bit, says what you said. Actually, when you look at the data over the last 2 years, trust has actually gone down. It was as high as 90s. Now it's what 60%. No, their trust has not really gone up. It started to improve early part of this year, but it stopped improving after the second quarter. So what does it all say? It's clear still that there's a lot of the majority of our countrymen distrust China, but that distrust has gone down, and much has moved to ambivalence. This is an important aspect of the report. Okay, but on the second finding, which is focused on threat perception, it's very clear for majority of Filipinos, and this particular probe has been stable all throughout the last few quarters, that most Filipinos continue to see China as the greatest threat to the country. It's very little has changed as far as this public perception is concerned. So there are two findings here. It's not just still majority, but has gone down, no?
Okay.
And perception of threat, which continues, which is a serious perception, because you can it's firm, it's stable, and not really changing. It's around 79%.
But how would you explain that? In a way, they're polar, well, not exactly polar opposites, but the distrust is not increasing, but they view China as a major threat. So, how do we explain that?
Well, the questions are two. These are two different questions. I think it's very clear that for many Filipinos, because of the last few months where there was very little activity happening in the West Philippine Sea by way of controversy, and at the same time, we're all focused on the corruption issues domestically. So there seemed to have a rise in ambivalence. The concern for China remains strong, says. So they're still consistent with one another. There was just some changes as far as movement of people from distrust to ambivalence. But when you ask about trust, it is still there's still less. Only 13% of our own respondents say they trust China. So it's still very firm. The trust is low, threat perception is high, and while I was stating all of this, the distinction is crucial. I think that threat perception is something that needs to
Could
be. Yeah.